Desafío global sin precedentes. Vladimir Putin ha respondido a Donald Trump y ha prometido salvar a las naciones no occidentales con el plan de desdolarización. Algo que no le ha gustado absolutamente nada a Donald Trump, ya que Donald Trump desde siempre ha dicho que está para proteger al dólar y que cualquiera que lo ataque será golpeado con todo ahínco y con todo el poder de los estadounidenses. Vamos a escuchar las palabras de Vladimir Putin y de Donald Trump en esta contienda sin precedentes. Atención a las palabras.
Support dollarization?
I would say that I'll leave that up to my economic people, but I like the dollar. I'm very strong on the dollar. And anybody who wants to deal in dollars, they have an advantage over people that aren't. But for the most part, we're keeping it that way. I think if Biden would have, Biden, that group would have gotten elected, meaning Kamala, you wouldn't have the dollar as your currency anymore. You wouldn't have a world domination by the dollar if I didn't win this election. And now the domination, like BRICS, I told anybody wants to be in BRICS, that's fine, but we're going to put tariffs on your nation. Everybody dropped out. They're all dropping out of BRICS. BRICS was an attack on the dollar. And I said, you want to play that game, I'm going to put tariffs on all of your product coming into the U.S. They said, like I said, we're dropping out of BRICS. And BRICS is like, they don't even talk about it anymore. Be careful with China. Look, everybody deals with China. They have to deal with us too. We have to be careful with China. Look, I have a great relationship with President Xi, but sometimes it gets testy because China likes to take advantage of people, and they can't take advantage of us. But we have a
Bueno, ahora parece que va por China. Después de estas llamadas con Vladimir Putin, todo apunta a que quiere ir a por el comercio chino, las tierras raras sobre todo. Pero China, ya lo estuvimos viendo en capítulos anteriores, no se va a andar con chiquitas, no se va a andar con tonterías, y ya le ha dicho a Donald Trump, oiga, usted tenga en cuenta que nosotros tenemos el comercio de las tierras raras y se tiene que llevar bien con nosotros, porque si nosotros nos ponemos tontos, podemos simplemente negarle la venta de estas tierras raras, que son utilizadas para baterías, para fibra óptica, para muchos proyectos estadounidenses.
Fair relationship with China, and I think it'll be fine. And if it's not, that's okay too. You have to do and go where the punches are thrown. You got to put up the blocks. We have a lot of punches being thrown, and we've been very successful.
We intend to further develop our cooperation in the nuclear industry with global.
Ahora estamos escuchando las palabras de Putin en relación a lo que ha dicho Donald Trump, que como sabemos Donald Trump ya está diciendo que le están golpeando desde China y desde Rusia. Vamos a escuchar al presidente Vladimir Putin.
South countries and within BRICS. We are working very actively in this sphere. Experts believe that nuclear generation will become one of the main pillars of the future global energy balance. By 2050, the capacity of nuclear power plants across the world will almost double. Russia plans to launch nuclear power plants with the capacity of over 29 gigawatts within the next decade and a half, including small nuclear power plants, which no other country is currently building. They may have such plans, but they remain on paper. In practice, Russia is the only country that is building them. We will build nuclear power plants in the Far East and Siberia. I would like to emphasize that nuclear generation has an important role to play in producing power for consumers, whose role is expected to increase dramatically in the future. I am referring to electric vehicles, industrial robots, and automated customer service systems. There is a growing demand for electricity in the digital economy, including AI and blockchain development tools, and data storage and processing. According to estimates, energy consumption at data centers around the world is comparable to electricity consumption of heavy industry. Obviously.
Bueno, ya lo vemos, Putin está confirmando que van a continuar con la unidad nuclear y, bueno, la construcción nuclear. Esa es la retórica que tiene Vladimir Putin, que nadie le va a permitir parar o detenerse. Es muy interesante porque para esto, bueno, el propio Trump ha dicho que esto es como un ataque a Estados Unidos, la de-dolarización, como él lo llama. Cuidado que nadie ataque a Donald Trump en esas garantías, ya lo ha dicho. No me ataquéis con esas garantías porque iré a por todas a esos países que intentan de-dolarizarme. Cuidado con eso, porque la amistad entre Trump y Putin parece que corre peligro.
The areas I have mentioned represent a powerful development factor. To a great extent, they determine the country's global competitive ability, effectiveness of national economies, and the quality of life. It means that our development plans for the Russian fuel and energy sector must take all these trends into account. It is what we try to do. Among other things, I propose setting up local generation facilities, stations using locked-up resources as professionals call them, to fuel digital economy and data centers. Transportation of these locked-up resources is expensive and time-consuming, meaning it is more efficient to use them in the same location where they are produced. I asked the government to submit proposals on organizing this sort of model. One of the tasks is to consider using advanced clean coal power generation to meet the needs of the digital infrastructure, data storage and processing centers, and so on. These facilities, located directly in our coal-producing regions, provide modern workplaces and help diversify local economies. Friends, now, to the third aspect of the modern energy sector, or challenge, to be exact, that global market actors face. It is the technological sovereignty of the countries producing oil, gas and other energy resources. I am certain that you have discussed this during your meetings. We have seen how the elites in the Western countries refuse to maintain and service the equipment supplied to Russia for the fuel and energy industry in an instant. They officially refuse to comply with their obligations. That was yet another confirmation of the fact that they are unreliable partners and their actions are directly bound to the political situation, and sometimes, this political situation is used for dishonest competition. Clearly, commercial entities, I am talking about Western companies, were forced to do that, frankly speaking. They had to do that under the pressure of their ruling political elites. But the fact remains, Western technology and equipment for the fuel and energy industry may at any time become unavailable for geopolitical reasons, unavailable not only to Russia but to any other energy supplier that the West may consider an inconvenient competitor or simply a country that is not easy to deal with. We all must consider this reality of today's world. I think everybody understands that. This means that we should actively change the status of energy-producing countries from equipment buyers to technological leaders and build full-fledged energy sovereignty at the national level, from...
Bueno, ya se está viendo que prácticamente Putin está yendo por otro camino que Donald Trump y que no van a permitir ni que se pise el uno ni que se pise el otro. Pero aquí estamos viendo efectivamente que la unidad entre ambos parece que se está tropezando y parece, bueno, todo apunta a que la situación está, como se suele decir, yéndose de madre.
Resource production and processing to product delivery. You know, the Russian fuel and energy sector is well on its way to achieving technological leadership. In fact, it has become a powerful driver for our entire domestic industry and science. Our government agencies, energy companies, enterprises, and research institutes are all collaborating, discussing these issues and coordinating specific steps. By the way, just here, on the sidelines of Energy Week, a meeting of the Coordinating Council for Import Substitution of Oil and Gas Equipment was held. This progress is reflected in the experience of our companies. I spoke with CEOs of some of them. Now, let's be frank, initially some engaged in what we might call reverse engineering. But then they moved forward very quickly.
Fijaros que también Arabia Saudita está inmersa en esta nueva causa, inmersa sobre todo en la causa de Vladimir Putin, porque ahora efectivamente Rusia también tiene plantas nucleares en Oriente Medio y es lo que está intentando traer a su casa, a su haber, a su nuevo poder mundial. El tema nuclear, como decimos, no significa tema nuclear, tema de armamento nuclear, que también, pero sobre todo significa tema de energía nuclear, que esto es lo que prácticamente indica el futuro, más que la energía eléctrica que tanto ha invertido Estados Unidos tal vez. Como siempre, nos veremos en el próximo capítulo, amigos. Dejad en los comentarios qué opináis. Nos vemos, como siempre. Hasta luego.